Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video. And for this one it is Falcon Patrol, which was released by Mastertronic in 1985. Now this is a World War II shoot 'em up. But the fact that it is set in World War II makes me wonder why there is a jet aircraft in the loading screen. It looks a bit like a fucking Falcon bomber. Anyway, who cares about factual, historical accuracies? Right, no, I don't want fucking trainers. So, as you can see, this game was written by Steve Lee, who is, of course, the man responsible for the two Falcon Patrol games. The layout is very clearly Steve Lee. There's also the fact that this is yet another game that he's written that has patrol in the name. Not so much a pattern as more a fucking obsession. So, let's see, the very obvious Steve Lee design doesn't stop here. Now, the music you can hear is by Rob Hubbard. It's not bad, but it's not by any stretch of the imagination up there amongst his best. So let's get a game underway. Now, you are this World War II jet, and you need to get to a specific target which you have to strafe, but for some reason actually flying any distance, that doesn't actually get you towards the target. You can see the bar across the bottom there is your progress towards the target that you're going to be strafing, but it only goes down when you hit anything, but actually travelling there, no, that doesn't count. So you can either try to attack the aircraft, which is easier said than done, or you can attack the ground-based ground-based targets, buildings, tanks, etc. Now the aircraft never actually fire at you. The only shots that are fired at you are these like artillery shells. Artillery shells, they're probably more like anti-aircraft flak. I can't imagine artillery shells being all that effective to stop an incoming aircraft. So as you can see, it is clearly played at a very different perspective to the Falcon Patrol games. This one, in fact, as you see it running, a lot of you will probably straight away be thinking this is the Buck Rogers game. Right, here we go. So we're approaching the building which we have to strafe. Now, you don't have to completely destroy it, you can damage it, but you do also have to watch out that you don't fly into the thing. The number of strafing runs you get is dependent on the number of lives you have. So I have, 4 lives, which means 5 aircraft, so I get 5 attempts to try and take out this target. Target is partially damaged. So we we don't continue. So you do have to destroy the target. Because we only partially damaged the building, you now got to do the whole level again. And that's where things start to get a bit irritating, because destroying that main target, as you saw, is not easy. So let's get on to the review then, shall we? So in terms of audio, we've covered the Rob Hubbard tune, which is okay, but yeah, it's certainly not his best. The in-game sound effects are nothing remarkable, but I mean they do the job. The very familiar sound of you know, World War II propeller engine, not quite a Merlin sound. You know, it's basic but functional. Same with like your machine gun fire. In fact, the machine gun fire sounds quite pathetic, really. And they are about the only sounds in the game. There's a slightly different explosion if you are destroyed by flying into a building like I did just then, or if you're hit by the anti-aircraft fire. But like I say, the actual aircraft flying by, they never take a single fucking shot at you, but you can accidentally fly into them and hit the bastard things. Which is why a lot of people, including me, spend the whole time attacking the ground-based targets rather than attacking any of the aircraft. So that's sound effects. Now graphics. I did say there's more Stephen Lee, you know, typical design, namely that the aircraft you're flying is blue and every enemy aircraft is red. There's no, you know, multicoloured sprites, well, not in the air anyway. Some of the ground targets have more than one colour, but when you consider this is Stephen Lee's third game, you would expect a bit more variation than there is, well, at least in the graphics. In fact, in every department. My shot went straight through that target then. That was close. So on to the gameplay. The gameplay is undeniably basic. Now, alright, the gameplay for Falcon Patrol and Falcon Patrol 2 was basic as well, but it was a hell of a lot better than this. The problem that this game has is being played in this perspective. So, you know, it's fine, or it became fine once people were able to really start to take advantage of the Commodore 64's capabilities. But this early, they weren't really able to do that. So although, well, as you can clearly see, they were able to make games like this, they were not particularly demanding in terms of, well, any aspect, whether it's the gameplay itself, graphically, or anything like that. One other thing that really does not help the gameplay is the fact that you can only fire or have one shot on screen at any time. So if you just miss a target like that, you then got to wait a fair old while before you can have another shot, and a lot of the time the target could have got so close that you end up flying into it. Let's have another go at taking out on the actual aircraft rather than just the ground targets. Mind you, it looks like I took it out a ground target without even trying. So yeah, the whole matter of you know, only having one shot on screen at any time really isn't helping. And the other thing is, of course, if you're flying, you know, any direction other than straight, your shots veer off at an angle, and that doesn't help you actually trying to hit a target. That's not so much a major problem. Anyway, here we go. It looks like we have a different target, so maybe I did get that first one done. So now we need to take a few more hits here. There was quite a few hits there. So maybe the first target was target 0. So you can't fly into it, so you've got to pull away in time, which I spectacularly failed to do. Right, this is my last strafing run. I don't think I've done enough to this target, especially as I've fucking flown into it again. Target partially damaged. Okay, so okay, on to the next target. So I think you get a much bigger bonus if you manage to completely destroy the target rather than partially damaging it. Anyway, this is it. I've basically shown you the whole thing. It is basically a Buck Rogers clone, if you remember that game. So how do I rate it? Well, if you are a fan of that game, I guess you'll like this. I don't know too many people who are fans of that game though. It's too simple for its own good, really. When you consider that this was, as I say, Stephen Lee's third game, you rather expected more. If he was going to change, you know, his style of gaming, which, okay, is not a bad idea, you know, have a bit of variety, then go the whole hog. But there's so many aspects here which means straight away it's, oh yeah, this is a Steve Lee game. So, you know, he didn't really go all out as far as trying to change too much. Despite the fact that it's no longer a horizontal shoot 'em up, it is 3D. You can clearly see the similarities between this and the two Falcon Patrol games, particularly the first one. It quite simply does not play anywhere near as well as either of those games. Those games have aged far better than this. In fact, it could be argued, and indeed was argued at the time, that this game is quite dated the moment it was released. By this time, in '85, Mastertronic had already shown a considerable rise in the quality of their games. You know, they weren't churning out stuff like Star Race and Orbitron and what have you. So they were already becoming known as, you know, a publisher that did publish decent games. There's no question of that. So this was quite a backward step. It just did not impress. About the only thing graphically that is impressive about the game is something I've just noticed, which is the fact that your shadow of your aircraft does fade out and then get bigger again as you get further away and then closer to the ground. Small details like that, a lot of people, I can imagine, will say, well, big fucking deal, but let's face it, a lot of games nowadays and video card drivers are endlessly banging on about shadows and shading and what have you. So, you know, clearly such things obviously are considered important. Okay, most of the time they're not considered important by me, but yeah, there's plenty of people who do, so well, there you go, here's an early example. But it doesn't alter the fact that the game itself is boring, because it's not all that challenging and it's not really offering very much new. It's easily the weakest game Stephen Lee did. I'm getting so bored that I'm tempted to start doing some sort of kamikaze style runs just so that the game can fucking end. And I've still got 3 lives. I know it says lives 2, but your last life is when it says lives 1 or lives 0, I should say. So yeah, I've still got a little way to go, so fuck it, let's just get ourselves fucking blown up, because I can't stomach playing this game for too much longer. I'm bored with it. So yeah, I will score this game 3.5 out of 10. It's not, you know, so awful as to deserve a 0 or 1, but it doesn't even reach mediocrity. It's definitely yeah, pretty forgettable. It was pretty forgettable at the time, even though it cost only $1.99. It still wasn't anything great. So there you go. That's Hunter Patrol for Commodore 64. 3.5 out of 10. Nothing great. So that brings this video to an end, and we will see you at the next one.